Just ahead on CTV News tonight, Montgomery County Public Schools has new leadership.
Days after Dr. Monifa McKnight leaves MCPS, the school district now has a new leader. I'm Katara Jones. I'll have all those details coming up on CTV News.
Plus, flooding in Ellicott City could soon be a thing of the past. Those stories and more, next.
Good evening. This is CTV News for Tuesday, February 6th. I'm Patricia Vallone. The former superintendent of a public school district in North Carolina has now been appointed to lead the Montgomery County school system. Dr. Monique Felder is now the new interim superintendent of MCPS. CTV's Katira Jones is outside of Montgomery County's Board of Education with more on the developing story.
The Montgomery County School District begins a new chapter with a new leader. In a packed board meeting, the MCPS Board of Education voted unanimously on the appointment of Dr. Monique Felder. Felder comes to Montgomery County with 32 years of education experience, working in North Carolina, Tennessee, PGCTV, and here in Montgomery County. Felder's appointment comes after Dr. Monifa McKnight agreed to leave her position as the MCPS superintendent. As we reported, McKnight and the board were engaged in an ongoing dispute. There was also controversy over findings from the investigation about how the school district handled the sexual misconduct allegations of former principal Joel Beetleman. During a press conference, Felder says she is excited to lead the school district she began her career in.
Extremely honored and humbled to be back in Montgomery County Public Schools. As I just shared in the board meeting, 32 years in the field, but 22 of those years were spent right here in this district. And serving in a variety of roles. Most precious to me is the role of a teacher. I am an educator and will always be one. And having those opportunities again at Poolfield Elementary School, Cedar Grove Elementary School, then having the opportunity to serve as an assistant principal at Bell Elementary School and principal at Watkins Mill Elementary School, followed by several leadership roles here in central office, gave me the opportunity to go out. I would not have been ready for the experiences that I had in the other districts that I served in if it wasn't for my beginnings here. Montgomery County Public Schools is my home. It has always held a special place in my heart. I hold every district I've ever worked in to the standards that are here.
The board says it will conduct a national search for a new superintendent. Felder will serve as the interim superintendent of MCPS until June 30th of this year. Katara Jones, CTV News.
Meantime, the Montgomery County Education Association is in support of Dr. Felder's appointment. Well, the Prince George's police officer who shot and killed a man in Suitland while responding to a break-in last Thursday has been identified. He's Officer Braxton Shelton, and according to investigators, Shelton responded to a call for a reported breaking and entering at the Wyndham Creek apartment complex on Suitland Road. And once inside, police say there was an exchange of words before Shelton fired his weapon. 31-year-old Melvin J. was pronounced dead by officials at the scene of the crime. The Independent Investigations Division of the Maryland Attorney General's Office looks into all deadly shootings involving police. Well, construction crews are expected to break ground this summer on a massive tunnel project aimed at mitigating flooding on Main Street in Ellicott City. The 5,000-foot-long tunnel was initially expected to cost $82 million. Howard County Executive Calvin Ball has announced $68 million in new funding. And that's on top of the $75 million loan from the Environmental Protection Agency. You may recall the town was devastated by two deadly floods in 2016 and 2018. The raging waters destroyed many businesses on Main Street. The project is expected to last 3 years. The Prince George's Memorial Library System makes history with its new leader. This is Dr. Mark Winston, and he is the system's first Black CEO in its 78-year history. Winston, who is a Maryland native, was most recently the executive director of the J. Lewis Crozer Library in Chester, Pennsylvania. He says that he's grateful for the opportunity.
It's exciting and it's motivating, and I think serving a diverse community, I'm excited about that possibility. It's also, in some ways, unfortunate that I'm the first, but that means I have a lot to do. So I hope you come back and talk to me in a year so we can talk about some accomplishments.
And Winston began his tenure on January 29th. Well, meantime, the library system is celebrating the opening of its new Baden branch. The facility is nearly double the size of the original that opened next door in 1970. The interior includes treehouse reading nooks, a meeting room, a cafe, and many more amenities.
This is more than 10 years of effort by community members and leaders, so that's exciting. A new library that's expanded allows us better to meet the needs of the community. The system has 19 branches, so it's really an opportunity to serve the entire county, so we want to bring the state of the art to everyone.
And the Baden Branch Library is located at 13601 Baden Westwood Road in Brandywine. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. Coming up, immigration advocates rally in the nation's capital.
I'm here at the U.S. Capitol bringing you the story of an asylum seeker living in Prince George's County. She says an upcoming immigration bill puts her life in jeopardy. Coming up on CTV News.
I surrender.
All right, pal.
Hey, Dad. Do we have a gun?
What's up?
Do we have a gun?
Why do you ask that, kiddo?
Can I play with it?
No, absolutely not. It's not a toy. You know that. Anyway, I need it to protect you, your sister, and Mom.
But what about the 8 kids who get shot every day by mistake?
Where'd you hear that?
Where do you keep it?
It's hidden.
I bet it's on the top shelf of the closet, under your sweatshirts. Is it loaded? Remember when I found my Christmas gift? You always told me to be curious.
No, that's not what I meant.
And when it's just me and Mom, I could use the gun to protect her.
No, Justin, I promise. I'm always here for you.
But Dad, you're not always here.
Sunshine through today with seasonal temperatures. We should reach our normal high of about 82 degrees by this afternoon. Clear skies tonight with a low of 70.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear. Call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
See, Smokey thinks I'm funny.
You budget. You pay bills.
Yet somehow, women like you, like me,
are 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to save ourselves by setting a goal to save 2% more of our income for our retirement.
Why 2? 1% honors you.
And 1% honors all womankind.
So come on, learn more about the 2% challenge at WeSaySaveIt.org.
Welcome back. Well, immigration advocates and asylum seekers gather in the nation's capital today to voice their concerns about an immigration bill headed to the Senate. CTV's Mariah Jalad was there to hear the story of a woman that escaped Cameroon and is now living in Prince George's County.
I'm here at the U.S. Capitol where advocates are demanding U.S. senators reject a border security bill they say is anti-immigrant.
Immigrants are not bargaining chips.
A provision in the bill would give Homeland Security emergency authority to cut off entry into the country for most people if an average of more than 4,000 people per day try to enter the country unlawfully over a week's span. Migrants would not be able to apply for asylum at all if border crossing numbers are high enough. Ornella is a Cameroonian asylum seeker currently living in Prince George's County. She faces deportation if the bill passes.
Do not deport us to our death. For my life and that of thousands of families are in your hands.
Asylum to me, it's not just me, it's for my whole family and for the whole of thousands of asylum seekers that are here. It means the world to us. It's a livelihood, as I say. If they send us back, they are sending me to my grave. Let's just say it's just like sending me to a coffin.
Casa says the bill would pose great danger to current asylum seekers.
Funding is going to be reduced. People are going to be deported very fast, and they don't have the opportunity to make the case, like in her case, that she has a serious threat in her life.
The group is now going to lobby Senator Chris Van Hollen to reject the bill, which could be voted on as soon as tomorrow. I'm Mariah Jalad from the Capitol, CTV News.
And Senate Republicans are criticizing the bill today and have implied they will not vote for it due to its border policy not being strict enough. Now, President Joe Biden is still pushing for the package to pass. And Maryland's Motor Vehicle Administration will now offer the learner's permit exam in 17 languages, including American Sign Language. The MVA used U.S. Census data in order to determine the top spoken languages in Maryland. And in addition to ASL, new languages include Amharic, Portuguese, Russian, and Tagalog. And the ASL version of the exam will use video translation. Well, Honda is recalling more than 750,000 vehicles in the U.S. due to a faulty weight sensor in the front seat that may cause the front passenger airbags to inflate when children or small adults are in the seats. The recall covers numerous models, including certain Honda Pilots, Accords, Civic sedans, HRVs, and Odyssey models from 2020 through 2022. Affected models from the Acura luxury brand include MDX, RDX, and TLX, ranging from 2020 to 2022 model years. An airport in Prince George's County that was once used for pilot training during World War II is being eyed for a mixed-use complex. A developer plans to create 1,300 residences, commercial space, public parks, and a solar energy farm on the grounds of Washington Executive Airport, also known as Hyde Field. The 425-acre Hyde Landing would be located at the intersection of Steed and Piscataway Roads in Clinton. The development is scheduled to be completed by 2033. The proposal still has to go before the county's planning board next month. A Pennsylvania man has been charged with illegally operating a drone over M&T Bank Stadium during the Baltimore Ravens AFC game against the Kansas City Chiefs last month. 44-year-old Matthew Hebert could face federal felony charges in connection with the incident. Drones are banned from flying over large sporting events, and the incident forced the NFL to temporarily suspend the game. Police tracked the device from a stadium to a location several blocks away, and that's where they found Hebert. Now, the drone was not registered, and Hebert did not have a certificate to operate it. If convicted, he could face several years behind bars. A Brandywine man is in custody for a domestic-related homicide. The suspect is 40-year-old James Savoy. He's accused of gunning down his uncle during an argument. The victim has been identified as 69-year-old George Savoy, also of Brandywine. Investigators say the shooting happened just after 2 o'clock last Saturday morning in a home in the 13,900 block of Old Indian Head Highway. The victim was found inside the home suffering from a gunshot wound and was pronounced dead at the scene. The nephew was arrested nearby. Savoy faces first and second-degree murder charges. And now here is Simon Buggs with a preview of the Tuesday Sports page.
What's going on, sports fans? And coming up in a bit, newly hired Commanders head coach Dan Quinn touches on his vision for the team as well as the roster heading into next football season. That story and more coming up soon. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my Grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Sports fans, it's time for your Tuesday Sports Page. We begin with some NFL news. It's a new era for Commanders football as former Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn is now the head coach of the team. This Commander squad has talent all over it, and Quinn spoke yesterday about what he likes most about this roster.
Man, was I impressed, by the inside of the defense, with the defensive tackles and knowing that it starts up front on both sides, man. Defensive line and offensive line. So that was the spot that jumped out to me, as the defensive tackles. And then the skill, at receiver. And you have to have elite players on the edge for the matchup. So when they come, David, that's when you got to go attack. So those would have been the two things that jumped out to me. I certainly, played against the club, so I know about more of the offensive players and game planning and studying. But this receiving group, really had skill, and they would test you and push you and find matchups. And so that, to me, of guys, that's where it stood out to me first.
Quinn also touched on the vision that he and General Manager Adam Peters have for the team in 2024.
It's more about the play style and the vision of how to feature players into that play style. And so that's one of the things that I love about coaching is finding unique traits that a player has, and then how could we fit them into a system, into a structure to make it happen. And so I was fortunate in Dallas, it pushed me further into new places, into new things to find, like a guy like Micah Parson who wasn't just a linebacker, and he could do other things. And so Adam and I have been at it together for a long time to know that there's a play style and traits that players have of length and speed and ball hawking ability and guys who can finish.
Moving on to the world of high school basketball, culture can be a vital part to a team's success. As a coach, instilling in your players to play a certain way or playing to represent something can be the difference between them winning and losing. And Ron James, the first-year head coach of the Bishop McNamara High School girls basketball team, wants to establish a culture of hard work.
Well, the culture I want to establish here is that we play for the folks that have come before us, right? Honoring the previous success and carrying the torch of Bishop McNamara to another level. So the culture of, the hard work that it takes, that, when you're successful, the hard work that you've done to be successful, that you got to work 10 times harder to stay there. So just making sure that we understand that. And at the end of the day, we just got to be good people.
The Lady Mustangs will take the court tonight versus Bishop O'Connell at 6 o'clock. And sticking with high school basketball news, Eleanor Roosevelt will host Flowers, Oxon Hill will travel to Potomac to take on the Wolverines, and finally, Laurel will match up against Bowie. All games tip off at 7:15. And that is your Tuesday Sports Page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
Thanks, Simon. And now let's get a quick check on our dry 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, if you have any plans outside, it will be clear and cold with a chilly low of 28 degrees. And it will get warmer every day this week with plenty of sunshine. Wednesday, expect a high of 48. It will reach 53 on Thursday, and Friday, temps will rise to 59 degrees to start off the weekend just right. And that wraps up our CTV News Update. I'm Patricia Vallone. Join us again tomorrow for news that matters to you. Have a great evening.